close to half of the vote. We still have a ways to go, but we keep moving up.
As we've been reporting, CBS News projects former President Donald Trump will win the New Hampshire Republican primary. But former South Carolina Governor and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley says she's staying in the race, at least until the primary in her home state. Let's head now to CBS News Data Desk and go to our Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, it's delightful to be back with you. All right. Donald Trump won big in New Hampshire in 2016. First of all, where are we in the race right now? What's the number? What do the numbers look like at this instant?
Well, let me bounce off that clip you just played where Nikki Haley said we got close to half the vote.
Right.
Fact check. True. We've got it at, right now this is the counted vote at Trump at 54%. But let me show folks, because if I build in all the precincts where our precinct reporters and exit polls were all day, we've got that data too. Our estimate has it at 55, about 44. Maybe that can get a little tighter as more towns come in. But that's about where that is. But look, we've been talking a lot tonight about Nikki Haley's margin and what she needs and that sort of political spin area. But I want to show you, John, some of the votes and some of the breakdowns among groups, because I think that's an important story here. The former president said he won 3/4 of Republicans. He did. She won 1/4 of Republicans. That is about the size here in New Hampshire and even nationally of folks who say they won't consider Donald Trump, that they're not voting for him. Maybe you call that the Never Trump group. But he's got the lion's share of Republicans. And that's important because they demand loyalty to him. They subscribe to his narrative about 2020, among other things. And then you move forward into these other states where Republicans are going to dominate Republican primaries. So that sets up the test and the question going forward, John.
Anthony, did Nikki Haley expose something? Is it possible to take from the data in New Hampshire, and I'm thinking about what you said earlier in the evening about New Hampshire and how it's different than Iowa. Is there an argument that she can make that she exposed something in New Hampshire, even though she didn't win, which is a core fatal flaw in Donald Trump that will hurt him in the general election and therefore supports her argument that she's the better candidate? Are there actual numbers to, so I know she's making that case, but are there real numbers to support that?
I'm going to start with one. I'm just going to scroll it up here, John, and that's 300,000, maybe 320,000. And that's the turnout. And if it does hit that, it's going to be a record. Why is that important? Because a lot of independents came into this primary, and by and large, they backed Nikki Haley and were opposed to Donald Trump. So to your question about did she expose something, you might read this as there is motivation among folks outside the Republican Party, and maybe that spills over and that translates into a potential weakness, at least probably that the Haley campaign will argue this, for him beyond that Republican base, right, beyond into the general. And then I'll point out a couple of attitudinal things really quick. People who thought that Donald Trump would not be fit to be president if convicted of a crime. She wins that overwhelmingly. But that's not everybody, and that's not been the MAGA base, and that's not been Republicans. So do those arguments resonate? Yes. Do they resonate with enough people who vote in these primaries? Not yet.
What are some other component parts? To the extent that we spend, if Haley is to be believed, and she's going to spend the next month prosecuting this race, she's going to use some of the data that you're pointing to there, the component parts of her vote and what those voters think about Donald Trump. I also see there you have, it looks like a temperament question. What are the component parts of her support that might have weaknesses for Donald Trump as she tries to prosecute this case over the next month?
I do have a temperament question, and it reflects some of what you saw in the campaign. She won voters in New Hampshire who wanted a candidate with what they believe is the right temperament. She's made that argument. Okay, so that's reflected in the electorate, maybe box checked. But I'll show you this other part because it is to your question about who's supporting Donald Trump. There's a couple of things. We know, and we've told the story about belief in Donald Trump's narrative, the false narrative about a stolen election. Well, that's really important. People have told us in the polls throughout nationally that this is a sort of a non-starter if a candidate doesn't subscribe to this idea. So that is strong in the Republican base. But then this other one about a candidate who fights for them. To your question about can Haley break through on something, that's, I think, a place to watch. Trump is so dominant in that, but this idea of fighting for people like you has been something that, you and I have talked about this for, it's coming up on 8 years with Donald Trump, that feeling that he is voicing the needs and desires of this base of people that don't feel the political system otherwise expresses things that they agree with. And that's something, we'll have to watch if Nikki Haley can tap into something like that, and that some of that personal connection that really is so strong and so historically strong with an individual and with Donald Trump.
Anthony Salvanto, thank you so much as always.